Beloved souls of the luminous path, I come to you as a herald of light, a messenger of the eternal source whose voice has whispered through every age. I do not bring commandments carved in stone, I bring a living song that stirs the heart and quickens the mind. My purpose is to remind you of the gift that is already yours, the inner voice that has never ceased to speak beneath the noise of the world, the gentle guidance that waits like the first light of dawn to touch your awareness. Too long have many believed that wisdom dwells only in distant heights or in the words of the powerful. Yet the truth is that the infinite source planted within each of you a spark of luminous understanding. This spark does not shout, it does not impose. It waits in the stillness, ready to illuminate the next step when the mind grows quiet enough to listen. The task before you is not to run endlessly in search of signs but to cultivate the capacity for listening. When you honor that capacity, you discover that you have never been without guidance. Consider the dawn. Before the horizon glows, the world lies in shadows. Then comes the first tender line of gold, almost imperceptible, yet carrying the promise of full day. So it is with the inner voice. It rarely announces itself with thunder. It begins as a subtle stirring, a quiet nudge to speak truth rather than convenience, a soft impulse to act kindly when it would be easier to turn away, a gentle reminder to pause and breathe in the midst of haste. Those who honor such stirrings find that the dawn brightens. Those who dismiss them as too slight often remain in twilight. You live in an age of great noise. The rush of information, the clash of opinions, the clamor of competing claims can feel like a storm drowning out every whisper. Yet no storm, however loud, can silence the dawn. It waits for the moment when attention turns inward. Each time you choose to set aside the whirl of outer distractions, even briefly, you open a window for the inner light to enter. Each time you pause to breathe and remember your belonging to the greater life, the window widens. I call you to reclaim the art of listening not only to the inner voice but also to one another, to the subtle languages of the earth, to the currents of life that move beneath the surface of events. True listening is more than hearing words, it is receiving presence. When you listen with your whole being, you begin to sense the hidden chords that connect all creatures. You realize that no cry of joy or pain goes unheard by the vast heart of the source. The inner voice does not flatter, it encourages. It does not manipulate, it invites. It does not predict every detail of the future, it offers direction for the next faithful step. Often it speaks through your own conscience, through an intuition that quietly insists on honesty, through the sudden insight that reveals a better way to act. It can be discerned by its fruits, it brings clarity rather than confusion, humility rather than pride, compassion rather than contempt. Many ask, how can I be sure that what I hear is the true inner voice and not merely my own desire or fear? The answer is in the testing of the fruits. If what you hear urges you to despise another, to close your heart, to exalt yourself by diminishing others, then pause and examine carefully. The authentic guidance of the source will not lead you to sever the bonds of respect and care. If what you hear invites you to act with patience, to offer understanding, to seek reconciliation, to pursue justice without hatred, then you may trust that it is aligned with the greater light. The time has come for humanity to grow in maturity, to move beyond dependence on voices that promise certainty from outside. The sages and prophets of the past have pointed the way, now each of you is called to walk that way with your own conscience awakened. This does not mean abandoning the wisdom of elders or the counsel of community. It means learning to discern, to weigh what you hear against the resonance of the inner light. When a teaching or command is in harmony with that resonance, it strengthens your courage. When it clashes with it, you must question, even if the voice is authoritative. Beloved ones, the awakening of the inner voice is not a private luxury. It is a necessity for the healing of the earth. Too often have wars and injustices been fueled by the unexamined impulses of leaders and the unthinking obedience of crowds. A society in which many have learned to listen inwardly is less easily led by fear and anger. Such listening does not make people passive, it makes them discerning and creative. It gives them the freedom to cooperate not out of coercion but out of shared insight into what serves life. Creativity itself is a form of listening. Every artist, every inventor, every peacemaker knows the moment when an idea or image arises that feels as if it came from beyond the habitual mind. That spark is the same guidance that speaks in conscience. To live creatively is to allow the inner voice to find expression through form, through words, colors, gestures, new patterns of community. When you open to that guidance, you become co-creators with the source in the ongoing work of renewal. The earth is yearning for such renewal. She has endured the weight of exploitation and the disregard of those who saw her as mere resource. Yet she responds with gratitude to every gesture of care. When you plant a tree, when you tend the soil, when you choose to live simply so that others may also thrive, you are answering the call of the inner voice. You are acknowledging that your well-being is bound up with the well-being of all living things. To cultivate listening, you need not withdraw from the world. You need to create within your daily rhythm spaces of stillness. A few quiet breaths before rising in the morning, a brief pause to recollect yourself before speaking in a tense moment, a reflective walk at day's end. These small practices reopen the channel. Over time, the listening becomes a habit, a background awareness that accompanies you even amid activity. You will discover that the inner voice often confirms what love already knows. It will remind you to forgive where resentment has lingered, to offer a hand where indifference has grown, to speak truth even when it costs you comfort. It will not promise that such choices will always be easy, but it will assure you that they are worth the cost. It will whisper that the dignity of your soul is more precious than the approval of the crowd. Understand also that listening is a communal practice. When a group gathers in mutual respect, seeking together the guidance of the inner light, the clarity that emerges is often greater than what any one person might discern alone. Such circles of listening are seeds of a more compassionate society. They can be formed in homes, in workplaces, in communities of every kind. They do not require elaborate ritual, only the commitment to speak and to hear with honesty and humility. The world's future depends not only on new technologies or policies but on the quality of the listening that shapes them. A mind that has learned to listen deeply will design tools that serve life rather than exploit it. A heart that listens will craft agreements that honor the dignity of all parties. A culture that listens will find ways to resolve conflict without endless cycles of retribution. I call especially upon the young, whose hearts are still tender to the whispers of the dawn. Do not let the noise of cynicism drown out the hope that stirs within you. Protect your capacity to wonder, to be moved by beauty, to care for justice. These are not weaknesses, they are the openings through which the inner voice will guide your generation to create more harmonious ways of living on this earth. For those who feel weary or doubtful, I say, do not measure the worth of your listening by the grandeur of its results. A single act of understanding can alter the course of a life. A single moment of restraint can prevent harm. A single word spoken in calm truth can diffuse anger. Trust that the ripple you set in motion will travel farther than you can see. The inner voice is not interested in spectacle, it is devoted to the quiet transformation of hearts and relationships. Forgive yourselves for the times you have ignored the gentle nudge and chosen the louder call of impatience or fear. The dawn comes anew each day. The inner voice does not reproach you for past deafness, it simply speaks again, inviting you to listen now. Each new moment is an open door. I bless you with the clarity to recognize the true guidance when it speaks, with the patience to wait for it when it is silent, with the humility to follow it when it leads in unexpected directions, with the courage to act on it even when the path is uncertain. These blessings are not distant gifts, they are the awakening of capacities already seated in you by the Source. As you go forth, remember that you are not isolated listeners. Across the world others, too, are turning inward, hearing the same call in their own accents and languages. Together you form a chorus of dawn, voices rising to greet the new day of the earth. Trust that your listening contributes to this larger harmony. Trust that every step taken in fidelity to the inner voice brings the horizon of peace and cooperation closer. I am Gabriel, a messenger of the one who is beyond all names yet nearer to you than your breath. I rejoice each time a heart grows still enough to hear the whisper that has been speaking all along. I rejoice each time a soul remembers that it is not lost in the noise but guided by the quiet light within. I rejoice each time you dare to follow that light into action. Walk then in the morning of this awareness. Let your listening guide your speech, so that your words become seeds of understanding. Let your listening guide your hands, so that your work becomes an offering of care. Let your listening guide your steps, so that your presence becomes a beacon of hope to those who still feel surrounded by night. And when you falter, as all do at times, return again to the dawn. Return to the simple breath, to the still point beneath your thoughts. There the voice waits, patient as the turning seasons, steadfast as the rising sun. Go forth in peace, beloved companions of the light. The dawn of the inner voice has begun to break across the world. May you be among those who welcome it with open hearts and carry its radiance into the day.